Panel, in your lifetime of following USC football, name the top 3 quarterback recruits, high schooler transfers, in order, that lived up to their recruiting hype, then 1 underhyped recruit that surprised you, and 1 recruit, we're talking about quarterbacks now, that never lived up to the hype. All right, Mark Culkin, I know you're ready to go, so have at it.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure what year recruit rankings started. So I'm just going to name my top 3 quarterbacks that I think were pretty highly ranked in the recruiting era. Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, Matt Barkley. I think Leinart and Palmer speak for themselves. And Matt Barkley, I threw in there just, he lived up to the expectations considering his circumstances that he played under at USC. And then who never lived up to the hype. I'm going to go Jason Thomas. Should have played tight end.
Wow, that's a good one.
And then surprise, I don't know. I don't have one. Sorry.
That's all right. All right. So those are your 5. All right, let's go on to Chris Arledge.
So I'm going to offer one who was highly billed and lived up to the hype. He's already named a few that would be on most lists. Caleb Williams. Who was more hyped than Caleb Williams, and who lived up to the hype more than Caleb Williams? I mean, the guy is national news before he sets foot on campus. He's hanging out with rappers at the football game. There's all kinds of talk in the media about how awful it is or how amazing it is. And then he went out and played better than anybody could have expected. So he's the one. Under the radar recruit that played well. How about Keaton Slovis? Right. I don't think anybody really expected a ton from him. He was a 3-star recruit. He was not somebody that everybody was talking a lot about. But this is a kid who played really well as a freshman. He's a Pac-12 freshman of the year. He was all Pac-12 first team as a sophomore. He was a good player, and a surprisingly good player considering his recruiting rating. So I liked the Jason Thomas pick. There's an obvious one that I'm going to leave out because I suspect that you guys are going to do it. I'm going to go with the controversial one. I think Todd Marinovich never lived up to the hype. Very few people had as much hype as Todd Marinovich coming out of high school. I mean, it was the whole Robo QB thing. He was, he was a 5-star plus recruit. And as a redshirt freshman, he played because Pat O'Hara got injured. He had gotten beat out in training camp. And he played pretty well as a redshirt freshman, right? He was all Pac. He was an all Pac-10 kid. They win the Rose Bowl. He played pretty well. His sophomore year, he didn't play well at all, and then completely flamed out, fighting with the coach on the sideline, having substance abuse problems behind the scenes. I mean, this is a guy who is expected to have the sort of career that. Maybe not Matt Leinart had, because that's too much to expect of anybody. But he was supposed to be a guy who was going to be there for a long time and be a superstar for a long time. He had one good year, one disastrous year, and he was gone. So I'm going to go with Marinovich as a guy who did not live up to the hype.
It's a great call.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Well, we're privileged to have a former ESPN recruiting guru for a number of years, who's our editor-in-chief here at WeAreSC.com. Eric McKinney, can't wait to hear what your choices are. Go right ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you, going third on this is garbage. It is absolute garbage, especially because the Venn diagram of guys that I can talk about is fully covered by everyone who went in front of me. So Caleb Williams is my number 1. He didn't win, he hasn't yet won a national championship like Matt Leinart, but what breaks it for me is the coverage that Caleb Williams got and the hype that was around him. I know Matt Leinart was a big time recruit. Carson Palmer's in that mix. Matt Barkley's in that mix. Nothing in terms of media spotlight and attention compares to what Caleb Williams got. So those are the 4 guys for me that I just mentioned. Caleb Williams is number 1. Keaton Slovis was my surprise. I think when he came in, I don't think anybody expected a ton from him. Because we hit on him a little bit. Cody Kessler, I think, is another name. He came in with Max Whittick, and the thought early on, at least in their recruitment, was Max Whittick was the guy. And then if you needed a second one, Cody Kessler. I think by the time they signed and that class was over, Kessler had pretty significantly made up that ground, and I think was actually ranked higher than Whittick in at least one service. For me, I think the disappointment, I'd say Mitch Mustaine. I think when he came over, I know you said we can go with transfers too. Thoughts that he was a big time guy. USC fans got to see a little bit of what he could do when USC played Arkansas, and he came in as a true freshman and that game was horrible for Arkansas fans, but provided a little spark, and there was a thought that maybe he could be the guy, and just, certainly not on that list of the other guys we mentioned there at quarterback for USC.
Oh, that was a good list, and I don't know if I would call this Venn diagram a pieces of garbage, but
going third after they mentioned all my guys.
Kenny, you're better than that. You're the freaking editor-in-chief of WeAreSC.com. We expect big things from you at all times. All right, I will pick Matt Leinart, Santa Ana, California, Modern Day High School. That was my number one guy. Number two, Carson Palmer, Laguna Niguel, California, Santa Margarita Catholic High School. And of course, Palmer ended up living up to it when he got Norm Chow as his offensive coordinator and won the Heisman Trophy, and as did Matt Leinart, of course. But number three, I agree with, I think Eric said this, and I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, I think Chris said the same thing. I put Caleb Williams in there. I really didn't want to have transfers in this, but we're in the era of transfers, and I said, you know what, you can't, they go hand in hand now. So I put Caleb Williams for all the reasons that Eric said. He was 100% spot on, from Washington, D.C., Gonzaga College. I never understood why they would call a high school college, but it's Gonzaga College. But I can't recall a transfer having this much hype, no matter who or what era it was. This was just over the top, and he wins the Heisman Trophy. He's got to be part of the list.
Hey, wait a minute. For all the reasons that Mark said, what about the reasons I gave? Were my reasons no good, Greg? I don't understand. You said you pointed out that we both mentioned his name, and then you said for all the reasons that Mark said. Like what's that all about?
Caleb, I didn't even mention Caleb Williams, so don't drag me into this little tete-a-tete.
It's not your fault. I know that, Mark. It's not you. The disrespect is coming.
Oh, don't defend him, Arledge. Come on. He's a big boy. He can defend himself.
Well, that's fine.
Before I was so rudely interrupted by someone who I expect would rudely interrupt me, of course. I actually put Tim Green from El Camino JC as a surprise quarterback transfer recruit. You don't hear his name much, but he did lead the Trojans into the Rose Bowl. And
we heard it last week. I said it.
Then why didn't you say it this week, smarty pants?
Okay. Well, I had Keaton.
Okay, you gave it a good.
People don't like that. What you just did, people don't like.
What? You don't know that. Of course, now I get a million hits on.
Yeah, you're gonna hear about it.
I know you're the chosen one. I know that people have pictures of you above their Trojan trophy case. I know that.
Are we still on quarterback?
I don't know what we're doing.
Hey, who woke up? For San Clemente?
Hey, who woke up Eric? Did Eric fall asleep for a minute? No, I'm gonna go also, by the way, a quarterback transfer that never lived up to the hype. I put Mitch Mustaine too. Actually, coming out of high school, I think he was the USA Today Player of the Year, if I recall. And he got a lot of hype when he came here. Does anybody here, just as a trivia question, remember who was his receiving partner at Springdale High School that came to SC and did a really good job?
Damian Williams.
Very good. Well done.
By the way, I was trying to be nice to Eric since he was going third, and I left Max Brown off of my did not live up to the hype list. I thought that was the easy one, and I took on the challenge of Todd Marinovich. So, but nobody mentioned him.
Well, you know what? This is true. I say this. I actually had Max Brown on there, and then I said to myself, well, he was the Gatorade Player of the Year. He got a shot to play. Mitch Mustaine never really did much of anything when he was at SC. So I felt that based on that criteria, I was going to put him in.
Receiver caught the ball.
What's that?
He would have beaten Notre Dame if the receiver caught the ball.
That's a true statement there.
Okay, Mark. Who would have caught the ball?
The receiver,
I know who was the receiver.
Donald Johnson.
Okay, what pass pattern did he run?
Eric,
Max Brown's the guy there, though. That was
Oh,
an
don't
oversight.
bail him out,
That's-
McKinney. Don't
No,
bail him
I'm
out.
just saying that's the answer.
Max Brown was a layup, and that's why I left it for you, Eric. But it was either an out and up or a hitch and go or something.
he was in the rain.
It was down and in. It was a slant.
No, it
I
wasn't.
was actually standing on the sidelines when he dropped it. I
It's
couldn't.
about
believe
40
he
yards.
dropped
What
it.
kind of slant is it when he's 40 yards downfield?
Well, he
on the
ran
sideline?
down about 20 yards and he cut inside.